Is COROS better than Garmin? I'll tell you why. Last October, I turned away from Garmin buying the COROS Pace Pro. I previously ran with the Garmin Forerunner 235, which is probably the most popular running watch to ever exist. And that was my old reliable for about 6 years, all the way throughout high school and even throughout college. This video is not going to be a comparison between a outdated watch and the brand new COROS Pace Pro, but rather a highlight reel of the COROS Pace Pro, as well as a comparison to newer Garmin models like the 165 and 570. So after about 5 months of testing, what are the things that really give COROS a leg up on Garmin? For starters, and probably most important, the price. But you can really find it for about $299 just about all throughout the year. In addition to some creator codes or nursing codes or student discounts, I think I bought the watch for about $275. So that's a really hell of a bargain for COROS's most premium road running watch. In comparison, you really can't find anything that nears its features and capabilities from the other end at Garmin. Everything seems to be really spiked. And I need to remind you guys that this is the COROS Pace Pro. It's not the 1, the 2, the 3, or even the more recent 4.
I'm not the 1 or the 2, so please send my child home at 3. Try Jesus, don't try me.
It's the Pro version, so this is COROS's best foot forward with all of their technology. This is with all their better materials, all of their upgrades, best battery life, etc., etc., etc. So that's why we're taking a look at the 165 and the 570, because COROS fits right perfectly between the two. The 165 is a little bit lower, coming in at $250, whereas the 570 jumps past COROS's price at $550. So you really are getting a nice little middle ground, I guess, of the pricing for COROS's best watch out there. And then we really just have to see, does the 570 have enough upgrades where it's better than the COROS and it's actually worth that extra $200? Or should you fall short a little bit on some of the features and you'll find yourself better suited with a Garmin 165 for not that much cheaper than a COROS sale price? So that's what we're going to really be diving into today. Before we completely nerd out, I made a table and everything to really just set up a clean comparison. I really just want to cover basic reasons why I switched and why I think you might want to too. And this is no shame or critique against Garmin as a whole. They have genuinely been the pioneer of the navigation and athletic watch / GPS industry for years. But I think they've just gotten too caught up in competition with the wrong people. And I think you're starting to lose your audience as you include all of these smartwatch features and really just out and overprice every single thing. So like I said, before we nerd out, let's just go through a couple other reasons. One of those would be battery life. The Pace Pro offers about 38 hours of GPS, all systems, with a slightly lower one for a dual system, which is basically just their more precise GPS tracking, but both of them work perfectly fine. And for me, I wear the watch 24/7, and that lasts about 2 weeks without me having to charge it. This was obviously a necessary upgrade because my Garmin here was really great, but at this point it's pretty old and it dies actually really fast, within a week, within even maybe 3 or 4 days, depending on how long my activities are running for. So it was definitely a necessary upgrade. One of the other main differences between the COROS Pace Pro and really all of COROS's models versus my old Garmin was LED screen versus MIP. And MIP basically is just not an LED screen, so it's pretty dark, especially if I'm running later at night, so it's very hard to see, but it preserves battery. So that was kind of the point of having that. Another thing that really sold me was just a simple amount of features. COROS really does have a mode for everything, and I'll show you that here. You can literally go through all the settings and you'll find just about every sport you can to track. And I'm a guy that likes to play all different types of sports with my friends, all the different times of the year. So having something a little bit more unique really suits my style, and I really appreciate that. The other thing, which I'll also throw up, is the app. So the app, at first it took a little bit of getting used to, and there is one leg up that Garmin has, at least currently on COROS, with the app, but COROS's app and interface really just feels so much more modern than Garmin's. It's really, really clean, it's pretty unique, and it offers a lot of customization for the watch. My old Garmin Now again, I'm not too sure about the newer ones, or at least the mid-range watches from Garmin that compare in price. I don't think they have that much customization. Definitely not the same interface that COROS offers. So I think that's a really important thing for you to keep in mind. Even as we go through the metric system on the watch and showing you now how the watches compare on interface within an actual run and whatever data is shown, I think it's really clear to see how much extra data you get from the COROS watch. Again, unsure about the 165 and 570 if they show similar things, but I am pretty sure the COROS features more than any other watch on the market. Also, to be completely honest, I don't even know what half of them mean, but I am pretty happy that I have them, because if you're a casual runner, you probably won't care. But as you become more and more ingrained into the sport and the data means more and more to you, those things are really valuable to have, especially for the price of the watch, which still technically is not cheap. But now, those are my 3 reasons between the price, the battery life, and the app interface. I think it's pretty clear why I made the change and why you might want to make the change too. I mean, I think it's as clear as it gets, but now we can nerd out and look at our little chart that we made. So I'm gonna be looking at the screen because I cannot memorize this entire chart. But this is it for comparison. So the COROS Pace Pro, like I said, is featured at $350 with a lot of sales, bringing it down to just under $300. So as I said, the COROS Pace Pro is featured at about $350, whereas the Forerunner 165 is listed for $250, and the Forerunner 570 is listed for $550. So the COROS Pace Pro offers a 1.3-inch AMOLED screen, which I showed you, and it's very bright, and the 165 offers a 1.2-inch AMOLED, and the 570 comes in 2 sizes, either 1.2 or 1.4 AMOLED screen. And they're all very good. I've seen them before, all of which are very bright. I think those are all very comparable. For controls, all the watches have touchscreen as well as buttons or dials. I actually like the fact that, if you can see it here, the watch actually does have a dial, and you turn it and you can also press it, whereas the Garmin's just have a button, you can't turn them. So you are a little bit more reliant on actually scrolling or using actual buttons to kind of navigate through. For the weight, depending on the strap that you put on, I used to run the nylon strap and I just switched back to the plastic, as you can see here. The plastic is a little bit heavier, but it feels really no different on your actual wrist. So the COROS comes in at 37 grams with the nylon strap, which is that fabric strap, and 49 grams with the plastic strap. The 165 comes in at 39 grams. Again, it's a little bit of a smaller model by about an inch, and the 570, depending on the size, comes in at 42 grams or 47 grams, which is a little bit more comparable to the COROS. So the battery for the smartwatch is about 20 days for the COROS, with fair lead over the other 2 watches, with the 165 being up to 11 days and the 570 also being up to about 10 to 11 days. And now for even more important data with that battery life, when you're using the GPS, if you're using all systems for COROS, it is 38 hours. And with the dual frequency, which I currently use because I'm in trails a lot or just under a lot of trees and back roads, it lasts for 31 hours. The 165 offers about 19 hours with the GNSS GPS only, and 17 hours all systems, with the 570 being slightly higher with 18 hours GNSS or 14 hours with the SAT IQ or multiband, which is like that dual frequency. And the 570 is actually a lot lower with 18 hours of GNS only and 14 hours of SAT IQ or multiband, which is more comparable to what the dual frequency from COROS is. So it's really interesting, and it, again, is probably the biggest factor for me. So like I said, the GPS from COROS offers a all systems or dual frequency. The single band for the 165 is just called GNSS, and the 570 offers a secondary one to compete with that dual frequency basically, and that offers a multi-GNSS or a SAT IQ and multi-band. For internal storage, and I don't think this is very important, but it is a very big difference again, the COROS offers 32 gigabytes of internal storage, with the 165 offering only 4 gigabytes and the 570 offering only 8. So again, really big difference there. And I think that is partially for this reason. The COROS, you would have to download MP3 files if you want something like music, and I never really use music. I don't even listen to music on my headphones. I don't know how I would do it on my watch. So that's one thing. And The Garmin's offer like a built-in music basically, so I don't think you have to download anything. I think you just have to sync it with one of your playlists, and both of them, like I said, offer music. So all three of these offer music, just slightly different formats or ways of actually reaching that feature. Again, now this is where we kind of get into more of the smartwatchy features. So Garmin is going to continue to take over here with the differences or the more modern version of technology. So phone calls, COROS doesn't offer it. The 165 is the cheaper model, doesn't offer it, but the 570 does. And you can basically make and complete a full phone call with a speaker and mic with the watch, which is interesting. My quarrel with this is just like, if I can make a phone call, but my watch is going to die in like 5 minutes because I've been running for like a few hours, that feature's kind of useless to me. And I know Garmin has a reason for obviously making these types of technologies available on their newer watches, and that's partially to keep up with, I think, Apple and just stay on top of the leaderboard. But I think the other part is safety, and that's definitely an interesting way of going about it, and I think it's important. But I think Garmin is still missing now the big picture, and I kind of, like I said all along, I think they've been losing their way. Now, back in COROS's favor is navigation and mapping. So mapping is offered on COROS offline with full topography maps and routes. And I love that even recently they added street names to the Pace Pro and the Pace 4, which just came out as well. The COROS 165 and the 570 offer only breadcrumb routes, which is a little bit interesting, and I can feature how that would actually play out in comparison, and notably so, the 570 offers it offline, where I guess the 165 doesn't. Into the bread and butter of why we're even getting these watches, the training metrics. So Garmin offers a lot of different training metrics, same with COROS, but they do differ. I think the main ones that I use on my COROS are running power, recovery, VO2 type metrics. Your fitness age is offered for all of these watches, VO2 is offered for all these watches, and they have different ways of basically displaying your body battery or stress. All of these have coaches. I think the Garmin coaches are definitely a little bit better than the COROS ones. Garmin still does hold such a tight grip on the majority of the market, so their coaching programs are probably a little bit better. I personally did look at a bunch of the COROS ones for half marathon training, and I really was not happy looking at any of their programs. So I think that's one place where COROS can really improve on their product. Following up with training metrics, I'm going to throw on the screen here, obviously, the comparison of the run between my current COROS Pace Pro and my outdated Garmin Forerunner 235, which again is not the thing being compared here. And you just see just such a vast difference in the data that's offered, whether it's stride length, height, power, all that type of stuff. And I'm more than certain that Garmin does feature most of these things, if not all of them as well. So that is not to take away from the 165 or 570 models. COROS really does lead the pack in the amount of sports and activities you can actually do and specify. Even within running, you can specify what lane you're in, which I think is really cool. As far as health sensors, all of them offer heart rate, SpO2, EKG monitoring, altimeters, compasses. One thing that I do have a complaint about my outdated Forerunner, and I don't know if it's really a problem with the newer watches from Garmin, but my COROS definitely does not have this problem, is tracking sleep. I love to track my sleep, really just to see how good or bad of a night I've had, as well as my heart rate variability, which kind of tells me more if I'm fatigued. I think that's really important data that I don't want to lose. And I would say out of 10 times, I've gotten 10 out of 10 with COROS, where maybe I get 3 out of 10 with my old Forerunner. So I'm really hoping that's a feature that they did improve over the years. I think if you're looking for even more specific videos on the individual watches, whether that's the COROS Pace 1, 2, 3, 4, or Pro, or the Garmin 235, 165, or 570 models, or any other models that they have out on the market, I really think you should take a look at this other YouTuber named DC Rainmaker. He does really nice detailed videos, and he really knows his stuff. Obviously, I'm a little bit of a noob to this YouTube stuff, as well as obviously the very integral details of tracking and comparing watches. And I am also, like I said, comparing a 8-year-old watch to a 2-year-old watch. So it's very important that obviously you take everything that I just told you into consideration, but I think also if you're looking for those more technical features, I think DC Rainmaker is a great resource, and he's actually the reason why I switched from Garmin to COROS. So check him out, and yeah, thank you for watching, and enjoy. Jump scare.
You just have to endure.